I can't even feel without being labeled angry and bitter. Alone I sit crying rivers, the pain and hurt I feel suppressing it deep. Don't want the cycle to repeat. I just really want release. Self-worthiness, love and peace. I understand, have a seat. Welcome to the Breakup Club. Yeah, the Breakup Club. Yeah, the Breakup Club. Welcome to the Breakup Club. Yeah, the Breakup Club. Yeah, Breakup Club. Yeah, welcome to the Breakup Club Podcast with your host, breakup and self-love coach, Nan Ross.
So before I get into today's episode, do your girl a favor and subscribe to the Breakup Club Podcast. Learn how to stop repetitive relationship cycle that ends in heartbreak, how to protect your precious heart without closing it off to love completely, and how to transform pain into your inner greatness. Let's begin. So today's episode, I have a lovely guest by the name of Kayla. Hey, Kayla, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
I'm awesome. Okay, so Kayla, I am going to be interviewing you so you can determine if you are in a karmic relationship. So the questions I'm going to ask you will determine or help you define if there's any repetitive patterns or behaviors that compromise your personal power. So you ready?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. First, I need to define a karmic relationship. Have you ever heard of karmic relationship?
Yes, I've heard of them.
Okay. It's basically the concept of a relationship that in your past life or in your past relationship, you fail to learn a lesson. So it becomes a cycle where you will continue, not you per se, but people will continue to run into the same types of people, toxic, dysfunctional people, until they break the cycle. And the only way to break it is to heal from it. So I am not going to tell you if you're in a karmic relationship, but based on the questions that I'm going to ask you at the end, you can determine if you are in one. Okay?
Okay.
So before I get into the signs, I have my notes here, but before I get into the signs, tell me currently where you at in your relationship.
Okay. Currently we are broken up and going no contact or trying to go no contact.
Okay. So you said, okay, so you guys broke up
Mm-hmm.
and you say we're trying for no contact. So
Right.
Is it the breakup and makeup?
Yeah, so that's been our relationship. Somehow this time is like the end. So we're just trying to properly just go no contact with it. It's difficult because we were in a breakup to makeup relationship that it's just like, okay, so is this the last time? Is this the last time? Is this so that I know it's the last time. So it's just getting on board. Well, everyone else getting on board.
Yes.
With it the last time.
Yes. No, trust me, I completely understand, because you heard my story on the episode 1 of, I don't think I talked about that part, but I went back and forth 7 times until it got destructive.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's hard. Okay, so when you first met this gentleman, describe the instant connection you had with him, or between the both of you.
Between the both of us, literally, it's like, and it sounds so cliche, I know, but it's like I knew him forever. I promise you, it was just that level of comfort with him. I don't know if it came from, prior to us actually meeting, we were, talking, texting, we were really getting to know each other. We were asking those questions. We were kind of digging into each other's past. Like, we were really just trying to get to know each other because we kind of prolong the meeting period because, you know, I had some things going on and I'm just like, I don't really want to meet you yet. But the first time meeting, it's like I knew him, like complete comfort.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think you may have, like, I don't know if you believe in past life, and do you believe maybe in your past life you probably met him?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. A
Okay.
couple, not just one, a couple.
Okay. All right, good. Because this is where I'm trying to get to the actual topic of the show, right? Okay, so overall, before I get into the sign, the last question is, how was your life before you met him?
I was happy. I was happily single, and I loved to use that. I looked for every reason to throw that in there. Like, you single? Yes, happily. I was happily single. I loved me. I enjoyed me, just me.
It's interesting. It's interesting. So what were you doing? Like, you love it's so obviously self-love and self-care. What were you doing that when you got in a relationship with him, it kind of stopped?
Okay, so I'm like really work driven. So anything to do with work, business, I'm in there. And I was like, I had my own hookah business going on. I was working. I was a manager. Actually, I was a manager at my job, and I kind of like stepped down from that. But I was a manager. So I was just, everything was work with me. It was work, sleep, work, sleep. No, really no personal life, but I was happy with that. That's what made me happy.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
This is getting good. Was he your first love?
I would say yes, because I've never felt this type of love.
The intensity. That's
Yes.
what you're not used to.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, no. I have loved before.
Mm-hmm.
This is my first time being in love.
Okay, yes, there's a difference. Because you can love your siblings, you know, parents and family members, but being in love that's different. That's more, intense.
Yeah, sure.
So technically he was your first. He was the first man that you were in love with.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm asking these questions because at the end, you're gonna start to figure things out, right?
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff that you will go through with someone that you love versus someone that you're in love with.
Okay.
You will tolerate certain things, you will tolerate certain behaviors, but that's where, of course, self-love and self-worth and boundaries come into play. But if this is your first love, it's different. It is. Okay. So, okay, I get it. Now, let's go into some of the signs of, because you believe that you were actually in a karmic relationship. Okay. So the first question is, describe some of the red flags that you have noticed, but you ignored in the early stage of the relationship.
Literally the first day he got into a fight with my roommate.
Oh, wow.
Well, my roommate's boyfriend, but yeah, the first day that we met. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Red flag number 1. That was the biggest.
Okay, so what was the reason of the fight? Briefly, we don't have to go into full detail.
Well, with me, I guess me and him were having an exchange, and it was really loud. So
okay.
Yeah, so they kind of came out to, like, check what was going on. And
okay. So y'all had beef. Just they started fighting physically, or?
Yeah, it was really intense. It was an all-out like fist fight. It escalated a lot. It was bad. Literally, if there could be a red flag, it would be the biggest of them all.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But so Yeah. it was bad.
Okay. All right, good. Now, how soon in the relationship did you, well, the issue started in the relationship? Like how soon? So you said the first day was the red flag. He was fighting with your roommate's boyfriend. What else happened? Maybe after that you realize, ooh.
So with our relationship, as intense as it was from the very beginning, we also moved really quickly too. He asked me to be his girlfriend really soon. So we jumped from, getting to know each other, which we were prior to us meeting and everything, to just we're in a relationship now.
Okay.
So, I would go over, to his place or where he was at. And I noticed some things.
Like what?
Or as just how a woman knows when you have a man's attention, and you also know when it's kind of elsewhere, I should say.
Oh, okay.
Intuition.
Okay.
So he was still, conversating with other females. But again, it was so early on. So I'm just like, okay, like I started making excuses for it. Like, oh, okay, well, it's kind of early on in our relationship. You can't just expect someone to be faithful. So yeah,
was
that was
this,
like flag number.
was this after he did he say he want to be committed?
Yeah, he said that. He initiated a lot of like the milestones within our relationship.
Okay. All right. But did your guys ever discuss what was the what's the word? The stipulations?
So yeah, we talked about that as well. We said that we were monogamous. So with us being in a relationship.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay, enough said. Okay, enough said. Yeah, enough said. Okay.
Yeah,
so,
I like that to be understood because people get confused.
Yeah, because there are some people who say, hey, can you be my girl? And we have this perception that is going to be monogamous. It's going to be just you and him, and no one else needs to be involved. But some men, they won't, they let's just say they leave certain things out.
Right
Because some think they're they think they're slick, but yeah, I totally get it. As long as you both had this agreement that it was going to be exclusive.
Right.
Okay. Do you think your relationship was a even give and take, or do you feel it was a lack of reciprocity on either side?
Okay. Definitely the lack.
Okay. Who was giving more?
And okay, let me answer that because a lot of times I want to say this because he's not completely guilty solely on his own in our breakup. There are ways in which I lacked as well. Definitely the lacking came from me. It became a nagging situation, but it was okay, you're not being completely honest. And if you can't be honest, I can't give you what you want from me because you can't even be honest with me, someone that, you lay down with every night. So I started lacking on my part to make the relationship work, which in turn created a hostile environment.
Wait, hold on. How were you lacking if you was communicating to him that your relationship should have been exclusive? And it seems like you mentioned to him a number of times. How were you lacking in that point? Are you talking about the nagging point? Like,
so with the nagging and everything else,
I don't think that's nagging. I don't think that's nagging. I think it's
nagging because if I have to ask you or talk to you more than 3 times about something, I feel like I'm nagging.
Okay.
I feel I'm being a bother, or I'm being, annoying.
No, you're not. Okay. Because obviously you had a lot of patience to repeat yourself
I did.
a number of times, right?
Yeah.
So in the relation, do you feel like you were given more than receiving from him? Just in general.
Yeah.
Describe your communication style as a couple.
A lot of the times I would want to communicate or talk about things in the height and the emotion of it. And a lot of the times that wasn't like the greatest idea, because I'm emotional and I'm like really just high on whatever emotion I'm feeling in that moment to clear state how I want. And he would just run away. Like, I can't do this right now. Let's talk about it later.
Okay. All right. So he was avoidant.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I just have this this message that just came that, I, as an empath, I believe that you are empath.
I
And
am.
usually the empath would attract avoidance. It's really difficult because you're still young and you got so many years to go through life and have a relationship. But in my personal experience, because I got years, it's I always seem to attract the opposite, right? So because I feel deeply, it was hard for me to attract a man who felt deeply as well.
Right.
He was always the opposite. He was the avoidant. He was the one who was just like, do we have to talk about this? And I'm up all night because it's like, I don't understand why we can't talk about this and blah, blah, blah. So I get what you're saying. Because at the end of the day, they were saying, why you nagging me? Because it's like we still didn't get a resolution based on whatever issue or problem that we have. Right. So, but don't call it nagging, because you done your part to make sure that you express your feelings about how things are going on in the relationship. So it's actions and words. He said one thing, but it seems like his action was totally different.
Right.
Okay. Don't call that nagging. Okay? Because too many of us, too many Black women feel that if we don't express our feelings and talk to the person that we love, that we're nagging. So, yeah. Okay.
I'm programmed in my mind. It was
I know.
Feel it too much.
I know. Okay, so were there any addictive behaviors in your relationships? And if so, what type?
I was really codependent on him. Yeah. To the point that it was unhealthy.
Oh. So you needed him to build you up in what way? Was it mental, physical, emotional needs? What were you so dependent on him for?
Security.
Oh, okay.
I needed security for him because as our relationship progressed and, things started to get a little worse, like it's just as far as with the cheating, I needed more and more security. So if we lived together too, which is like even crazier, that's how I know it was unhealthy, because I would be at work and if I don't get a text back from you, what are you doing? I need a text back. I need to know, like, you see my text, that you're not busy doing something else. Like, I just needed, I needed to hear from him.
Okay.
And it goes the same as me calling. Yeah, I needed to.
Have you ever lived alone?
Never.
Okay. So you had the roommate that you mentioned, but you never did it all by yourself, had an apartment, had all the bills in your name okay.
Never.
Okay. How often were you and your ex fighting?
Often.
Okay. Is it in a form of an argument or was it form of physical?
Both.
Both? Okay.
Yeah.
And when you say often, let's say 7 days out of the week, how many days a week, roughly?
Once or twice.
Okay. That's still a lot, but okay.
An irritation, because those happen too, like silent treatment. So it'd be like, oh, I come in and I don't want to talk to you today. That to me is a fight. That's an argument, like a silent one, but it's an argument.
Yeah. But silent treatments, little do people know, silent treatment is also a form of manipulation.
Mm.
And that was something that my first husband and the gentleman that I was dating before the last breakup, he did that for 2 days. And people don't realize that it's technically a emotional abuse.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Okay. So when you have your good days with him and you think about the love you have for him, you think about the future with him, what fears comes up to the surface?
That he just be gone one day.
So the fear of abandonment?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And you mentioned that he was cheating a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Do you also had a fear of rejection?
Yeah, for sure. And it definitely made me insecure.
Okay. When you was with him, when y'all was living together, how did you feel? Like at that moment, just being with him, like how did you feel when he was in your presence?
He got on my whole nerve.
Okay.
Like I said, we broke up and got back together.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times the intense emotions that I felt for him towards the end when we were breaking up to make up, I missed him and I felt like I loved him more when we weren't physically together. But when he was in my presence and we were in each other's presence, he got on my nerves, my last nerve.
So this is interesting because this is very common for those who are in karmic relationship. You hate each other's guts.
Right.
But when you're apart, you would think, oh, you feel better. And you may feel better because I've been in a situation where, I went my separate ways and I was like, oh, I just feel like a load lifted off of me. And then a week would go by. Then now I'm thinking about, maybe he was supposed to work things out because maybe he's special. Maybe our lives was supposed to go through this to teach me something, but to teach me how to love him better, right? So sometimes being in a karmic relationship, it makes us feel like we owe something or we feel obligated or there's some type of unfinished business. So back to when you was mentioned that, yeah, when you're together, you can stand each other, but when you was apart, why did you feel like you had to go back or try again?
I felt like he needed me in a way. In a sense, he did.
In what way did he need you? Do you know?
I don't know for sure what way. I have my ideas, but I feel like I'm not ready to unpack that yet because that's probably going to hurt a little more than the fact of me saying just that he needed me.
Okay. But you got to know why he needed you. So, okay. So I know. And I know this is hard, but this is the part that you do need to talk about, right? So, like I said, you don't have to go into a lot of detail. So here's a question. And within a couple of hours or maybe a day or two, is it something that he asks of you?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you mind sharing what he asked you? The couple of times that he has, your guys broke up, got back together.
A lot of it's monetary, for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
And do you give?
I do.
Why? Why do you feel like you have to give?
Because one, I've done it so long. Two, I just would never want to see him in a really messed up situation.
Okay.
If I can help, I wouldn't want that for him.
So you give, he receives, you're fighting again, you break up, he calls you again. Can we talk about this? You come over there.
I see what you're doing there.
Sweet loves, sweet kisses. Acts again, you give it to him, you break up again. That's a pattern, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not every time.
No, I know. But if it happens more than once, you have to pay attention to that.
Right.
Because I know what it feels like to be used financially. Okay, next question. Does he bring out the worst in you?
He can.
To what extent?
Where it's physical.
Meaning that you be physical to him?
Yeah.
Okay. In what way do you think this relationship had compromised your self-worth and self-respect?
The moment I put my hands on him.
In past relationships or somewhere in childhood, have you been like that?
Yeah. Honestly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, childhood for sure. Like, I was a fighter. I always fought. And it was crazy because I was the littlest and always the youngest. And people like always felt like they wanted to protect me. But I'm like, no, I got this. Like, I wanted to fight. You look at me crazy, I'm fighting you. You say, oh, what you said? You said so? Oh, I'm fighting you. Like,
you know what they say, the littlest one or the feistiest.
For real. And I was. And it was just like, I did not want to be that person anymore. Like, I did so much work not to be that person. And it sucked that my person brought that out of me.
Well, maybe he was in your life to teach you the lesson to break that habit or cycle that's been going on since childhood.
Yeah.
Ta-da!
We have a winner.
You mentioned that there was a pattern of the breakup and the makeups, and why do you feel it was so difficult to end it completely?
Oh, because I loved him, like, completely. You couldn't tell me nothing about that man. Like, nothing. Nobody. I lost friends. I lost a lot of people. And you could not tell me nothing about him.
So, okay, you mentioned you lost friends.
I lost all of my friends. Which is where that codependency came from. I didn't have anybody else. I'm trying to heal Miss Nan, honestly, and I'm gonna be as honest as I can. I'm not placing no blame. I don't want to. I want to heal. Like, I really wholeheartedly want to move on from him. I do. I love him, but I want to move on. I want to be better. Like, I feel like crap, and I just want to feel good again.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, I totally get. Okay, so you said you love him, okay, and I don't doubt that. Do you think your actions, good intention actions, right? Do you think it was based on love, or do you think it was aligned with fear?
At first, it was definitely love. Towards the end, of course. And I'm saying this all with hindsight because it's like looking back, like towards the end, like it definitely was out of fear. Like, I was trying to hold on to him, like, even though he was the one that was like doing some pretty messed up stuff.
Yeah.
I was still like, I'm trying to make this work. Why don't you love me enough to make this work? Like, I'm fighting for us. Why are you not fighting for us?
Do you still feel attached to him?
I do.
Okay.
Just every day is different though. Every day is different.
Do you feel that there's unfinished business between you and him?
Yes, I do.
In my past relationship, I felt like I had to keep going back and forth to my son's, my husband at the time, because he was my son's father. So I felt obligated as a mother and even as a wife to go and try to make the relationship work, regardless of all the toxicity and dysfunctional actions and behaviors. So is there anything that you feel obligated, or there's some unfinished business in this relationship?
I feel like in our relationship, there were times where he felt like I wasn't honest, and it was things that I felt like were personal that I didn't really need to tell him, that he ended up finding out. And it was just like, it wasn't anything that hurt our relationship. It's just the fact that I just never discussed it with him.
And you wasn't ready. So you just wasn't ready.
Right.
Okay.
And I feel like the obligation comes from, because we would get into fights about that particular subject of me not, bringing things to him, that there was a situation that occurred that I don't know if even talking to him about it, it's not going to change. It's not, in my world, it's not going to change anything.
Yeah. Do you feel that he was holding secrets?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. He lied a lot. For sure. If you're lying, there are definitely secrets.
But you was holding secrets.
But they weren't anything that would hurt.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
That's what I'm saying. So I was looking at it from my way of, okay, it's not going to hurt us or change anything. It's just how I feel or how it affected me. And he said that's very selfish. And, when you're in which I was very open to understanding, but there would be times I would bring him that same argument. And it's okay to keep a secret.
If you want to make the relationship to work, and that's one thing, it's about trust, right? So having secrets is going to compromise the trust.
Correct.
So he feels you got a secret. So he got a secret. And you mad because he didn't share his secret, and he's mad because you didn't share your secret. There's no trust in the relationship.
Right. Right.
Based on the response to the questions that I've asked, do you feel that you are in a karmic relationship?
Yes. The sky is blue.
Okay. Do you feel that you have identified some of the patterns that affected your relationship? You personally.
Yeah.
Okay. What lessons have you learned being in this turbulent relationship?
Lessons or just one takeaway?
Lessons. You can 2 or 3 based on what we talked about. The first one, the last one we talked about is secrets. Right?
Yeah. Definitely that, for sure. That was the start. Yes, please. Thank you.
Because secrets are very detrimental. They
are, and I didn't realize they were until it affected my own relationship. So for sure that definitely taking heed to the red flags, for sure.
Okay.
That definitely would have saved a lot of them. But I needed to learn this lesson. I would say those two. Those two are the biggies.
It should be one more. You mentioned about
it's the code. I gotta say it. moving forward, I know that is not okay. That's not okay.
Okay.
And that will push anybody.
But back to the codependency, right? You said it was more, you was dependent on him security, right? So the lesson, you be okay to do the shit on your own. That you cannot rely or depend on anyone to fulfill your financial, your physical, and your emotional needs and securities. Because securities is huge. Security is just not about finance. It's emotional security, feeling safe. You know, so yes, we have codependency. The lesson is to really believe in yourself. Right. Also, we talked about you being physical, right? What is that lesson?
Don't put your hands on, like, just don't. Just don't put your hands on nobody. Like, that's crazy.
Okay. Good. Okay, good. We made really good progress. First of all, Kayla, I am so proud of you. Now, are you ready to move forward and start work on some of those lessons that you have learned?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, good. Because I would like to invite you back onto the show.
Okay.
Because the next show, we will go over some of the accountability steps, the self-reflection steps that's going to help prevent you to going back into this type of relationship, right? I don't want you to go through what you're going through right now. If you have not learned your lessons, you will.
Right.
And that lessons will going to be harder than the first one.
Oh, no.
And you don't want to do that, right? Okay, good. But I want to thank you. If you can, once this podcast is live, listen to it. Okay. So that way, I want you to be able to be prepared and having all this information of the patterns and the lessons that you learn, because you will have to bring that into the next show. Okay. But I want to thank everyone for listening to today's episode. And of course, I would like to thank my lovely guest, Kayla, for being so honest and being accountable and showing responsibilities. So until next time, it's love, happy healing, and peace.
Peace out.
Bye.
Well, that concludes this episode of the Breakup Club Podcast with your host, breakup and self-love coach, Nan Ross. Be sure to join our private Breakup Club Podcast Facebook group to share your stories and submit your questions.